Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're back to work over on the steam Stoker engine, and today what I want to try to get accomplished is I want to try to get this cylinder block mounted over on the actual engine part here with the cranks and the piston rods and everything else, the crossheads, get all this mounted up and ready to go to our next step, which will be installing the pistons and the valves. Before I can do that, I've got to make rings for this, and I've got to get a casting back from the foundry to actually turn those rings out of. They're cast iron rings, and I just made a couple of patterns, and we're going to have some cylinders cast that we can then machine those rings out of to finish this thing up. So I'm waiting on that, but in the meantime, we can get this ready where we're just ready to put all that final stuff together. That is my game plan. I've got a few things I need to do to the block before we mount it over here, and then we're going to go ahead and get her installed. So come along for the ride. Let's get this done. So first thing I want to do is there's a couple of pipe fittings up here. This is for the exhaust to come out. There's actually 3 different places that it can be ported to come out of, the 2 sides and the top. There's a plug in the top. They will probably plug one side or the other and have the exhaust come out of this. I'm not sure which side they will do, but the threads in these are just kind of a little bit rough. So I've got a pipe tap here. These are piped threads, and what is this, a 2-inch pipe thread. I just want to run it up in there just enough to kind of clean those threads up, just kind of chase those threads. Pipe threads are tapered, so I don't want to go any deeper than I have to here, but I do want to just maybe get a half a turn or something, maybe 1 full turn to just kind of freshen them up and make sure we've got good threads. Probably just I'll tell you what, that's a 1/4 turn. Now we're really kind of cutting there. And that's probably all I need. I just need to make sure they're good and fresh in there. So I'm just going to back that out. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Like I said, one of these sides will be plugged, I'm assuming. I just don't know which side. All right, that should be good fresh threads. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I've got you looking here at the back side of the cylinder block. This is the part that actually mounts up to the main casting. And up here, this is actually the bottom. This is upside down, but this is where the valves back side of the valve stems go through here, and the valves are back in the back side here. We press the sleeves in from the other side. Now, right here, we've got a threaded port, and basically we have this packing gland that will thread up in here, and this is where we put packing around that rod, the valve rod that will be rocking back and forth. Now, these are threaded 2-inch 12, an NS. This is a straight tap. This isn't a tapered tap. And this is an oddball tap, and actually I did a video quite some time ago that I was going to have to find a tap, and I had a viewer reach out to me that had one of these taps. It was actually a teacher, like a shop teacher, that had one sitting in the shop. I don't think it's ever been used. He says it's been sitting here probably since World War II, and anyway, he sent it to me. So we're going to chase these threads, and I will note this one over here is not in bad shape. This one over here, I can definitely see where there's some places in there where it's kind of messed up. So we're going to chase both of these threads because these are straight threads. These are not like tapered threads like pipe taps normally are. So we will probably just chase them clean through, whereas the pipe tap kind of goes down to a point where the taper starts, and if you keep going, it continues going deeper into that taper. These are straight. All right, let me see if I can get that lined up and started, and we'll chase both of these threads out. I'm going to go on the other side because I'm kind of working left-handed here, and it's not easy. Let me go on the other side of the camera. All right, I was able to get this one started, and so far I'm able to just kind of do this by hand. I've got a wrench over here in case I need to do it, but we are just chasing these threads, so it's probably not going to take a lot to clean them out, but they got rust and gunk and they're just kind of rough. So let me get this one through. And like I said, so far I've been able to do this completely by hand. This one over here has got some kind of cross threading in it that I'm going to have to straighten out. It's probably going to be a little bit tougher to do, but I think we're all the way through that one. I'm going to pull it on out. Starting this tap was kind of tricky because I've got, what was that, 6 or 8 starts, places that this starts, well, there's 6 flutes, and only one of them is going to mesh up with the start here, so you kind of had to go around and find the right one for it to start with, and I'm going to have to do the same thing over here. Like I said, it was just a little bit clunky. Well, look at there. I got that one right off the bat. All right, that one's going in easier than I thought it was going to go, because I could see some kind of cross threading in there, and it's a little tight right here. Yeah, I'm going to have to put the wrench on it now. It's just a little bit tighter than I can do by hand. It's not that tight. All right, we are all the way through there. Those threads have been chased. Now we should be able to put our little pieces in there where the packing go, the packing glands, get those threaded in. All right, we're going to put our packing glands in. I'm just going to put a little bit of a pipe sealer on this. This is rated for 10,000 psi liquid, I think it said, and 2,000 psi something else. This steam engine will not be running anywhere near those kinds of pressures, so I think we should be fine. I think that's going in crooked. Let's see. That's it right there. All right. Same thing on this other side. And once again, I got it started right off the bat there. You can tell these glands have been in and out several times. They kind of been over on the edges where the wrench has been on and off, but I think they're fine. I looked over in my pile, and I do have the plug that came out of one of these sides. I'm going to put it in this side over here. Again, I'm not sure exactly which one of these ports they're going to need, but they can, when they install it, if they need it in a different one, they can move these around. But I need to plug one of them up for when we test it. And after doing a little bit of thinking, I think I want to plug up this side over here for how I'm going to set it up when we test this. We're going to test it on compressed air, run the engine on air. I don't really have steam I can run it on. I guess I could take it out to the museum, but it'd be a pain to have to get it plumbed up to something, so we're just going to run it on air, which is what they normally would test them on. This side, unlike the ones over here that are straight, this is a tapered thread, which is a typical pipe thread. And the reason pipe threads are tapered is you get them to a point and they get super tight, and you basically, as you tighten up the threads, it's wedging it into a taper at the same time, and it just gives you a really good seal for something that's pressurized, whether it be steam or water or whatever. On the other side, I can pull down on that, get it a little bit tighter. Still going. All right, that's that should work. So the next real step is to get the studs put back in here to bolt this back up over on there. There's a copper gasket that goes in between this. But before I do that, I think what I want to do is I've got a cylinder hone. I want to hone these cylinders out. These still have the original board finish from when we bored these up at Brian Block's shop a couple of years ago. And there is just a little bit of rust that has got in these. It's not bad. I mean, I can see a little bit of rust in there, but I think I'm just going to hone them, get a nice little crosshatch pattern in them, not do a whole lot, but I think that'll help. So I've got a cylinder hone. Let's get it over here and see if we can get it going. All right, I've got the sun and hone over here, about ready to start here. I've got it adjusted where it's not super tight in here. There's a little adjuster back here on the back that you can tighten these up. There's basically two stones and there's two just spacers that kind of keep it all in line. This sun and hone, basically there's a piece that you can put in here to expand it out. You have to change out these arms and put in longer arms and put this brace in here if you want to do larger diameters. I had to change all that out. It took me a little while to get all that done, but anyway, it is ready to go. I'm just going to put this on a drill, and we're going to just go back and forth and get a nice crosshatch pattern in here. I am going to be putting some mineral oil in here for lubrication, and in fact, we'll just go ahead and put a little bit in there. Just a real lightweight oil. Let's try it out. All right, I'm going to tighten it up just a little bit. I think I'm going to try a different drill too, because this wants to go too fast. All right, tighten it up. You just turn this little pin on the inside, a little piece here. I'm just barely turning it. It'll still go there. All right, let's try this drill here. I got a variable speed on it. Much better. I'm just looking at the pattern in here. I think that's all it's going to take. It's not going to take a lot. These cylinders were in pretty good shape to begin with. So, and they're just freshly bored. So it's not like they need a whole lot. But that is freshen them up and looks really good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen these up just a little bit. We'll swap sides with the hone. A little oil in there. I'm going to give it just a little bit more tight. And I'm much happier now with that surface finish in these. One side, this side over here, just had a little bit of chatter in it. I mean, it was very slight, but a little bit of honing, and we got those out. So up next, I'm going around. I'm going to put in the studs for these. I will note that I had previously put anti-seize on these, and it's still got the anti-seize on there, so I'm not going to put any more anti-seize on these. It just doesn't need them. But we are going to go around and get all these installed. So when we took these apart, there were some copper gaskets that went in between the cylinder block and the rest of the frame over there. These are pretty beat up. When we took them apart, a couple of them, yeah, that one there, for example, got beat up pretty bad. We had to do some prying on these or whatever. So I had some more copper gaskets made. This is just made out of a piece of copper sheeting, and it was a water jet out. I actually had Keith Fenner over at Turn Right Machine Works, another YouTuber, has a little small water jet machine, and he got some copper material for me, and he actually cut these out over there. Now, they're a little bit rough on the inside, so I'm going to go and take a few minutes and kind of do some deburring on these. There's also a little plastic protectant on these I need to get pulled off on both sides, and but before I do anything else, I want to get these deburred on the inside. So let me go spend a couple minutes doing that, and then these just kind of sit up in place, and we'll tighten everything up over there. They're the original ones. I mean, I wish they were a little bit tighter fitting in there. I need to maybe see if I can come up with something to kind of hold them exactly in place, because they will drop down just a little bit, but it's the way the originals were as well. They kind of had some room in there. I almost kind of wish these were a little bit bigger and actually went out over the holes, but they are what they are, and we copied the originals. All right, let me go get these worked out, and we'll be back. All right, I've got a sling on this. We're going to lift it up. And get her over here ready to install back on. I've got my copper gaskets. I'm just going to kind of set them in here right now. We'll try to get them properly positioned when we get over here to the engine. I'll lay this down. we go. Just making sure my gaskets are in there. There are some dowel pins that this has to kind of fit up on, and we're on the dowel pins now. So let me get my nuts started back here, and we'll start tightening this up a little bit. I'm just going to get a couple of nuts started on here, kind of get it pulled up tight, a couple down low. And I'm just kind of holding that gasket kind of up where it needs to go on the top here. And I'm looking up in there where these gaskets are at, and just to kind of getting them in the right position. I think it's fine. I can barely kind of see it on this side. I think that's a little better. Yes. Okay. I'm going to just snug these up. Let the pressure off of this now. Get the strap out of here now for good. I had to bring it back to get a little upward pressure to get those gaskets positioned right. I think we have got it positioned right. The gaskets are completely out of sight, so I think they're positioned pretty well in there. I'm going to go ahead and put anti-seize on all these rest of these studs on this side, and then we're going to go around and tighten them up. I'll take off the 4 that I've got just kind of holding it in place right now, and redo them once I get these other ones tightened up with the anti-seize on them, and I'll add anti-seize to those as well. So just putting a little dab on each bolt. I'm just getting them snug right now. All right, and I'm going to take off the ones that I tightened up before and get anti-seize on those as well. And now I want to start actually torquing these and kind of working around in a more orderly fashion to get them tightened up. Now I did look in my book and documentation. I could not find any specifications on what to torque these to. I know just from working on other steam stuff, it probably needs to be around 130 to 150 foot-pounds. So I'm probably just go to 130 right now, and I may come back and tighten it up to 150 a little bit later on. But right now, I mainly just want to get it tight. So I've got my torque wrench set to 100 pounds right now. And let's see here. Got to go the other direction. We'll just work our way around. I did move it around a little bit to get in here where I could torque a little bit better. I think what I'm going to do next is there's a bunch of pipe fittings in the side that I just need to plug up for right now. Again, they may use some of these, but I don't know which ones they're going to use and which ones they're not. There's one in the bottom, which is basically the drain for the oil. It had a reducer in there. I think that they probably had a pipe plugged into this where they could just open a valve up and drain the oil out of this when they did maintenance. I'm just going to put a plug in it for right now. And again, they can plumb it as they want. There's also one up here and one down here on both sides. When I got it, only one side was plugged, so probably some vents. I'm really not exactly sure what they had plugged into that, but regardless, I'm just going to plug everything for the time being. So I got some plugs, I got some pipe dope. Let me get in here and get all these taken care of. This chest here is not pressurized, by the way. It basically just holds oil. It has an oil pan basically in the bottom, and everything just runs in oil and slings oil everywhere in there to keep everything lubricated. So this would have all been oil and lubrication related stuff on it. Again, no real steam pressure on it at all. When this engine is in operation, it rotates in a clockwise direction. So this is going to kind of roll back to the back in that direction. And it's had a really neat lubrication system on here to keep things lubricated. And that's basically these little oil slingers. So up here on the top of the crankshaft, there are two little brass pieces here that bolt on, screw on like such. And basically what this does is it goes down into the oil, it picks up the oil in this cup, and as it comes back up, it slings it out all over the engine. And as you can see, there's little places here where the oil will kind of find its way down into the places they need to go. So we need to get these put back in. They are just held in place with a couple of 1/4-inch flathead screws. I took all the old ones out. They were in pretty rough shape, so I'm replacing them with some new ones here. And we'll just go ahead and get these installed and be done with that. There's two of these each on each one of the connecting rods here. These oil slingers are made out of some kind of brass or bronze material. I'm not sure. It looks like bronze, but it could be red brass. And they're mirror images of one another. There's a left and a right. All right. Got them installed on this crank. I'm going to rotate the other side around, get them up, and we'll get those put in. And this engine will turn in the direction that I'm spinning it right now when in the forward motion. It is a reversible engine, but most of the time it'll be turning in this direction. Now, I just said that this is a reversible engine, and for you guys that know a lot about steam, you'll say, well, that doesn't look like a reversible valve system in here. Most times when you have a reversing engine, you've got two sets of valves, one for forward and one for reverse, and there's some type of gear where you can move from one to the other, like a Stevenson gear or something along those lines. This one just has one set of valve rods, which would indicate that it only moves in one direction, but they kind of had an ingenious way of reversing it. And just keep in mind that, again, the vast majority of the time, you would run the engine in the forward direction, but if the conveyor gets jammed or something, you may need to, turn it a turn or two in reverse to kind of unjam it. It's not like you would run it for long periods of time. And the way they did that was they had a mechanism on the valve that opens the steam up to the steam chest on the steam engine that basically reversed the steam so that it would cause the steam to go into the exhaust, and the pressure side would be ported to exhaust. And basically that would cause the engine to run in reverse for a very short period of time. Obviously, it's not something you would want to be using super frequently or be running it in reverse for long periods of time, but for just a quick short burst, it worked. It got the job done, and that's what they did. Let's see, I think I need to just come forward just a touch to get started in here. There we go. All right. The oil slingers are installed. And with that, guys, I think that's about as far as I can really go today as far as putting stuff back together on here. The next step is going to be putting the piston rods and the pistons in, as well as the valve rods and the valves, but I can't do that until I make the rings. And again, I'm waiting on the casting to come back from the foundry so that I can make the rings for this. There are a few other little things that I've kind of jotted down. I see some hardware that I need to pick up. I'm going to have to make an order for. I made a note before that I needed some jam nuts, 1/2-inch jam nuts up here. I never did get those, so I need to swap those out, so that's properly done. Also, I need to get some high heat paint for this, high temperature paint, and get this whole thing painted on the outside. I need to make some gaskets that will go up on the front to cover the valves up. I can cut those. I just need to order some high pressure steam gasket paper, gasket material to make those out of. What else? I'm sure there's something else that I'm not thinking of, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Oh, I need to order some longer studs to go down here in the front because there's a piece that the valve rods go through, and I need a longer stud than what I have to replace that. But other than that, I mean, this is, again, about as far as we can go today, but we are getting really close to doing final assembly on this thing and being able to kind of test it out and see how it runs. So keep my fingers crossed that our castings get in here pretty quick and we can get those rings made and get this project over the finish line here pretty soon. One other thing I know I got to do is there's some insulation that goes around these cylinders and some covers. I'm going to have to fabricate some. I got the original ones that came off the sheet metal covers, but they're in pretty rough shape. I'm probably going to go ahead and get some new ones made. So there are just a few little small things that have to be done, but like I said, we can't really go any farther assembling this until I get the castings to make the piston rings out of. So with that, that's a wrap. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted. As always, a big, huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal, and YouTube memberships, all which are great ways to help support the site. And with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. We'll catch you on the next video again, as always. Thanks for watching.